If knee pain has been holding you back on the trail this summer, then you are in the right place because this workout has been designed to help build strength through all of the systems that you need to descend with confidence. You can have more pain-free adventures. Welcome back to Outdoor Adventure Training. My name is Mikey Bell. Really excited to dive into this very well-rounded 30-minute routine. We're going to be working on balance, eccentric quad strength, a little bit of glute engagement as well, so you can start calibrating those hips and knees and ankles to feel strong on the trail. That's really what we're all about here at OAT. As far as equipment, you're going to need some sort of a box or a step for step up variations, maybe even a smaller step or box, or even a stair or a curb nearby will work for a reverse step up. And I'm gonna ask, because we're trying to build some strength here, at least some form of external resistance, whether that's a pair of dumbbells or a kettlebell, maybe even a loaded up backpack. We're gonna get right to it, starting out with a little bit of a warm up, then working through multiple circuits, and then a nice cool down stretch at the end. We're gonna get started on the floor with a little bit of hip mobility work. You might want a mat handy. We're just gonna sit down and we're gonna work on some 90-90 hip rotations. We're working on hip internal rotation, and then we're gonna rotate to the other side to get that internal rotation. We're also working on a little bit of external rotation through the hips here. Just getting the hip joint mobile and moving. Really important to have mobile and stable hips, not just for the descents, but for the uphill and just day-to-day life. That hip mobility is so important. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit of a stretch and opening through that outer part of the hip. That's what we're looking for here. We're not holding any static stretches in our warm-up. We're keeping things moving today, team. We're gonna move into a bit of a dorsiflexion stretch, which if you followed along with our mountain ankle series at all, we talked a lot about why dorsiflexion is so important, but essentially just these ankle rockers. I'm up in a low lunge position and I'm working on pushing that knee over the toe. So I'm keeping that heel grounded. I'm just sinking in and out of this lunge. And really this active stretch is working two different things. We're getting that dorsiflexion, that elongation through the calves. We're also getting hip extension in the back leg, opening up through the quads and hip flexors. And really, if you can improve range of motion in any two areas, it's the ankles and hips, dorsiflexion, hip extension. So a lot of exercises today are focusing on those two things. We're gonna switch right away to the other side. If you're up a little higher, maybe your range of motion isn't quite as much, that's okay. These are great things to assess and revisit. We like starting off with these dynamic warm-ups to elongate the muscles a little bit, get things activated so we can get more out of our training session. If we just go right into our workout without a proper warm-up, we might not get as much out of our effort, which if you're here putting in the work, that's what it's all about. Next up, we got walking pigeon. So we're still opening up the external rotators here. I'm just crossing my ankle over the opposite knee and a little bit of a hip hinge, a little bit of a squat. Again, looking for that stretch through the outer part of the hip. A little bit of balance going on here too as well. If you're struggling with stability, you can keep a hand against the wall. No problem at all. Really with everything today, you need to modify in a way that works for you and your body. Nice work. This next one's gonna work on balance and stability, particularly through the ankles and lower legs. We're doing some toe walks. So we're just gonna lift the heels up off the ground. We're gonna try to keep them there and take small steps on the toes. I'm trying to splay my toes out as well, meaning they're not crunching in. We're gonna get better stability through the toes. If we can splay them out, feet that move or feet that work. Just notice small, controlled steps. If this is really tough for you, you can also just work on a two-legged calf raise. We're trying to build a little bit of strength and stability through the calves and ankles. Super important for that trail performance. Nice work. Shake it out. We're going to get into a little bit more hip activation into our first little block here. We're actually going to find the floor again. We're going to work on some hip concentric contractions, which can be much harder than it sounds like. We're doing a single leg hip flexor raise. So one knee is bent, one leg is extended, my hands are behind me, and I'm just working on raising my leg. And it's extended, meaning my knee isn't flexed. If your knee's a little bit flexed, that's okay, but I'm really trying to lift through the core and the hip flexor. Now, I mentioned we're big on hip extension, but we need to be strong in hip flexion too. Every step, walking uphill, you're flexing that hip. And this is going to help you on those big climbs. So we're kind of starting off our hike right now, walking uphill, as most of them start, unless you're hiking in the Grand Canyon. And it's those big descents. We've switched sides here. Again, right knee is bent, left leg is extended, and I'm really being mindful of being controlled. If you're only getting that heel off the ground an inch or two, that's okay. Again, we need to modify as needed. Toes staying pointed up. Getting that hip flexion going, team. Whew. Last one. Nice work. Okay, we're going to come down onto our backs. We're going to work on some glute bridge variations, a few different options here. Ideally, we're going to work on single leg glute bridges. If you're new to glute bridges, you might want to do a few reps with both legs grounded, but I'm going to go ahead and go for the one-legged variation. So I'm just on my left foot, heel is staying grounded, squeezing the glute, pressing the hips up. I'm not letting the hips rotate. I'm using a lot of core engagement to keep my pelvis neutral. Squeezing the glute, hip is up. Notice everything we've done so far is body weight. So many amazing things we can do. Just working against gravity. And honestly, if you're struggling with these, that's a good indication that we're switching sides, by the way. We need to work on your neuromuscular coordination. We don't want to be adding strength to dysfunctional movement patterns. Getting that hip up high, really good glute engagement. If you're feeling it in your quad a little bit, that's okay too. Make sure you're pushing through the heel. Toe is straight ahead. Getting those hips up. Couple more. I'm going to hold at the top here. Finishing strong. Whew. Nice job. We're going to come up here. We're going to work again on some more hip extension. There's a theme building in today's workout. I'm going to keep one hand against the wall. This is really simple, but the goal is to get some activation through the glutes and hamstrings. I'm going to work on kicking this heel back towards the wall. And this might not look like much, but if you're doing it right and you're really focusing on keeping your core engaged and really kicking that leg back behind you, you're going to really feel that light up through the glutes and hamstrings. You can also do this with a band or even a cable pulley machine. Notice I have a little bit of a bend in the isometrically loaded leg. I'm just working on kicking back. Nice work. We're going to go right away to the other side. So I'm loading on my right leg now, kicking that left leg behind me. This whole workout is timer based. Not a big fan of prescribing rep numbers. From what I've seen in my 13 plus years as a fitness professional, when I give someone 10 reps, they're going to do those 10 reps as fast as they can. And that is not the goal, especially in a workout like this. Quality over quantity. I want you moving slow and really feeling these exercises in the intended muscle groups. So you should be feeling that glute and hamstring activated. Good work, team. We're gonna need our box next. We got step-up variations. So this circuit, 3 exercises. We got step-ups. We have a plyometric option in there and a bit of an upper body exercise. And then we're gonna go through it again and progress all 3 of these as an option. Here we go. I'm gonna go left leg first. We're just working on our classic step-up. From the anterior view, we're really paying attention to what our knee is doing, particularly on the eccentric phase, on the way down. And if you're dealing with knee pain, see what your knee is doing as you descend. Does it want to go valgus and collapse inward, crossing the midline of your foot and your big toe? We really want to keep that knee in line with the second and third toe, especially on the way down. I'm minimizing the push off the back leg. Chest is up tall. I'm not using any weights this round. Really refining the movement patterns. If you're returning to this workout for the second or third or fourth time, you know what's coming. You might want to add weights now. And then notice at that top range of motion, we're still getting hip extension. We'll go to the lateral view this time so you can see what I'm talking about. So our goal with the step up is to bring the hip over the knee. It's a subtle but significant difference. I'm trying to bring the hip up, squeeze the glutes, tuck the tailbone under, and then I'm resisting that same motion on the way down. The difference is extending the knee and then bringing the hip. That's going to hit the quads. That's not what we're after in a step up. The glutes and hamstrings are our uphill engine, not the quads. If you're relying on your quads going uphill, that's probably contributing to the early burnout on the descent. Not the goal. You need to stay balanced through the whole system, not over relying on any one muscle group to get us up or down. And you'll find that this glute activation work is going to set us up for our little eccentric quad finisher at the end. Fighting it on the way down. Great job. Okay, this next one, we're going to work on a single leg hop. Don't fast forward. If you're not a fan of plyometrics, we're going to show you ways to modify, but hopping is super important, especially as we age. A lot of times when we trip and stumble, we need to plyometrically, that's a made up word, catch ourselves and absorb. So what we're going to do is start off with our left leg here. You can start with just a little mock hop, meaning I'm just raising up on the heel and then coming back down. But I encourage you to explore just hopping up a little bit and soft landing. We're absorbing that impact through the whole lower body. I see it really commonly when people aren't comfortable with hopping or jumping. When they do trip or even just walking downhill, there's a lot of impact and stomping, and that sends a wave of energy into the joints that don't like that, like your spine. So anytime we're hopping and absorbing, it's all about foot, ankle, knee, hip, and we're slowly absorbing that whole load through the kinetic chain. We're switching sides here. So again, you can just a little mock hop even. I've also seen clients that we work with hold poles and brace themselves to reduce weight. You can hold a band up overhead to take some weight off as well. Soft landings, which is why I love doing this style of workout in a barefoot shoe. We love our zero shoes for this style of training. Get that really good grounded contact. Make sure you check out our third video in the mountain ankle series, where we go in depth about footwear. Nice work. If you're doing those right, you should of course feel it in the quads absorbing, but you should feel it in the glute as you're stabilizing through the hip. Now this next one is more upper body focused. You are going to need a light to moderate weight here. We're working on a one arm row to get our upper body and core engaged. My back is flat, nice and easy. I'm rolling the shoulder back, letting it down slow. And you might be wondering, why the heck is there a rowing exercise and a hiking workout? Well, I got news for you. Your upper body is super important. I can't tell you how many folks I work with that have rotator cuff issues, upper body dysfunction. And our back muscles are what preserve that. Good chance if you're going hiking, you're wearing a backpack. And you know what's holding a lot of that load? It's your upper back. So in this row, we're really working on rolling the scapula down and back. Nice work. And we're gonna progress all of these in the next round, or not. If you wanna keep rolling with these variations, that's okay. Maybe return to this workout someday. So we're switching sides here. Notice I'm not rounding through the back. My shoulder isn't hunched forward. I'm not just pulling through the arm. I'm rolling the shoulder down and back, retraction and depression of the scapula, and then nice and easy, I'm bringing that elbow up along the rib cage, trying to get it up, and then slowly releasing. And on the release, I'm not letting the weight just pull me down. I'm really trying to stay locked and loaded here throughout my row. Great work, team. Okay, I'm gonna keep my kettlebell handy. I have a feeling I'm gonna wanna use that here. I'm gonna grab a quick sip of water. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm generally not a big talker. There's so much information to get across in such a short amount of time, which is why in our training programs, workouts tend to run a little bit longer, a little bit more in depth, because there's just so many great things to talk about. Now, we're going back to our step up, and we're gonna add a variation if you're ready for it. I've added weight. I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna bring this leg down. This leg's coming off, and I'm sinking back into a reverse lunge, driving off the front leg, back up. So this is getting into a more functional compound movement, working on the lunge motion, stepping up. This is a great one for all you flatlanders that don't have access to elevation gain to kind of mimic at least a few steps going uphill and a few steps going downhill, especially on that reverse lunge. The upper body and spine need to track over the hips. Notice I'm not leaning forward like this in my lunge. I'm really trying to get back, letting that weight hang, driving up and reaching back. Last one. I know I'm going over a little bit. Extra credit. Great job. And we'll switch sides. A lot going on in this exercise. If you're struggling with that, having a bit of a brain fart, pause it. Get it dialed in. Again, step up, stepping straight down, and then reaching back with this leg. My feet are about hip width distance apart, nice and neutral over the hips. Balance. Straight down, reaching back. Really pay attention on that step up. The tendency is to let that momentum keep going and pushing off the toe. Really want to be mindful to plant that foot, push through the heel, keep the knee out, keep it out, keep it out. Reaching back. And then this knee is staying out. Trying to avoid that valgus collapse. Because when that valgus collapse happens, your glutes ain't firing. Great work, team. We're gonna get ready for our hops again. We have an option to progress this if you want. You can use just a small little lip, okay? You can also not use a lip, but even just a couple of inches, and we can hop down. I'm just gonna get started now and absorb, right? This is just like when you're walking downhill and you're faced with a big step. This is a very real world move right here, even just in day-to-day life. If you stumble off a curb, you wanna be able to catch yourself. You can also experiment with hopping off with one, landing on two. You can hop off with two, land on one. Find the variation that works for you. If that's too easy, no worries. Safely step it up. Soft landings is the key. I've been doing plyometrics for many, many years. I'm still working on them. Soft landings, absorbing. Excellent work, team. Switching sides. So again, you know yourself best. You know what you need to work on. Modify. These are all options. Revert to the mock hop if needed. This might be something to work up to over the course of several months. In most of our programs, we don't really prescribe plyometrics, foundational plyometrics until week 3. And then it's more like 5 or 6 when we're really getting active and hopping down, because it takes time to refine these patterns. I'm gonna get a few from my skyscraper. And if you're a skier too, we'll get there. But those plyometrics are important. Here we go. We're gonna mix things up with the row a little bit if you want. You can keep doing what we did on the first one if you're really just working on your rowing motion. But if you wanna make this a little bit more full body, here we go. I'm gonna balance on my left leg, isometrically loading. So I'm loading through the hips, knees, and ankle, and I'm gonna row with the opposite arm. So we're isometrically burning through that leg, using some core for some anti-rotation. Hiking is all about anti-rotation and rotation. Our hips move in the transverse plane, which is rotation on every single step. So I'm trying to keep that forward lean, rowing it back. Good job, team. We're gonna switch sides here. So now I'm gonna go right leg, weight in the left hand. These are all options. Loading, rowing. Really, the row is just something to do while we're loading to really get the core engaged. Staying focused. You can use extra support if you need to here. Holding your trekking pole or a dowel or a wall or your hiking buddy. Excellent job, team. Okay, we're getting ready for our little micro quad finisher. Then we got a little core finisher, and then we'll cool it down. We're doing the reverse step up. We've reached our summit. It's time to head back down. We're doing some classic reverse step ups. You really don't need much height for these to be effective. I'm gonna go right leg first. We're really working on driving that knee over the toe. If you've been following along from the start, your legs might be starting to get a little fatigued right now, particularly through the glutes, maybe through the quads. And that's representative of what you're gonna be doing on your big hikes. Going uphill, building fatigue. Now the hard part, going down. So we're loading the knee here, getting that vastus medialis engaged. Again, dorsiflexion. Working on that motion. Really try to load it. Notice how slow I'm going. 3 seconds on the way down. You can hold isometrically. How long can you last there? And then come up slow. I'm gonna do one more rep, 10 seconds. Getting down slow, holding it, and then coming up slow. Whoo! That 3-3-3 tempo is something we program in our Trek Prep program. Tendon adaptation work. It loves those low and slow repetition tempo. So notice this one, the hips are almost staying tucked forward a little bit. I'm not pushing my hips behind me and seeking range of motion. I'm really trying to isolate with knee flexion, ankle dorsiflexion, and that's what fires those quads, elongates the calves. Exactly what we need to feel strong, confident, resilient, walking down those big climbs in the mountains. I'm gonna go real slow on these last couple here. How well can you control this movement? I'm not using any weight, and I'm still feeling it in the quad. And I've done thousands of reverse step-ups in my life. Always room for improvement. Great job. Short little rest. And we have a plyometric movement in the frontal plane, side to side work. Ice skaters. Now, we can scale this really easily by just reaching laterally and transitioning. Okay? Even if you're not an ice skater or a skier, this again teaches that ability to absorb moving laterally, which you'll find you might need to do more of than expected when hiking. But notice on either end, I'm stabilizing, absorbing. That's really key. If you kind of fall out of it, take a second, collect yourself, ground yourself. That's fortifying neuromuscularly that your body's comfortable in these positions. You got to own it, team. Let's get it done. A few more. We're staying low, absorbing and landing, or reaching and landing softly. Core is staying engaged. Nice job. Take a second, catch your breath, and we're gonna burn it out with the core. You may or may not want a mat for this. I generally use a mat. Sometimes I don't, and this is one of those times. We're gonna be in a high plank position. You're gonna modify as needed. If you know you struggle with planks, this is home for you. The isometric core loading is really important. If you want, you can hold the high plank. You can also work on alternating knee-ins, just driving one knee up to the test. There's chest, there's hip flexion again, a nice test. And then we can work on some internal rotation, trying to get the knee or the top of the thigh to the elbow or forearm, or even just working towards that direction, all options. Getting some more hip flexion, core engagement. Woo, nice job. A lot of that balance and proprioception and control, particularly going downhill, happens through our core. Don't overlook the value here. Just a few more exercises, hang in there. We're gonna work on our side plank. You got options. You can hang out here. You can hang out on a knee. You can get more dynamic with it. Threading that arm through, rotating, opening back up. So some active rotation, as well as some anti-rotation. Wonderful variation of the side plank. Still working on that upper back stability and strength here as well. Woo! Great job. We'll switch sides. We're getting it done, team. Not bad for 30 minutes, huh? Get a little burn going. Hips up. Again, modify as needed. That kickstand position is great if you're still building strength through the obliques. Hand is up, threading underneath, opening up, all with control. If one side's weaker than the other, with any of these exercises, that is great data. You might need to invest a little bit of extra time on that side. Usually just an extra 2 or 3 reps. Oftentimes it's a mobility issue. Great job. Okay, we're ready for our final core exercise. This one's tough, scissor lifts. We're gonna lay on the floor, one leg extended, one leg up, and we're gonna switch sides, nice and slow. So a lot of core engagement, hip flexion. If this gets your lower back at all, put your hands under your glutes. We're trying to be fluid on our transitions, drawing the belly button in, bracing the lumbar into the floor. You shouldn't even be able to slide a piece of paper under there. Just a few more, team, nice and slow. Don't cheat me. Come on, keep digging. How strong do you want to feel on that hike? Visualize success. We're almost there. Switch. Switch. Give me one more. Come on, we're almost there. Last one. Switch. Hold it and finish strong. Nice work. Way to go. You earned that one. Woo! We're gonna do a quick cool down stretch, slowing things down a little bit. We're gonna revisit that same ankle rocker we did early on, but we're gonna hold it a little bit more statically this time. And really, I just want you again, getting into these two key positions, hip extension, ankle dorsiflexion. I'm actively trying to push the knee over the toe, and I'm just gonna hang out here statically. Static stretching is amazing for relaxing the nervous system above all else. And once we can relax a little bit and get into a little bit more of a parasympathetic state, that mobility work's going to come a lot more easily. We're also elongating our fascia and just slowing things down after a sharp and short little workout there. And then nice and easy, we're going to come out of that and switch sides. You don't have to be a yogi to stretch. Although I do practice a fair bit of yoga, and primarily yin yoga in the evenings where you're holding longer poses. These little cool down stretches are great, but this can't be all of the mobility work we're doing. I've talked about this in many different videos on this channel, but that mobility work really does take consistency to see those structural changes and actually improve your range of motion for the long term. There's no finish line with it. It just needs to become a part of your daily practice if you want to thrive late in life out on the trails, in the mountains. That's my goal. What's yours? Nice job. Way to show up today. Do something healthy for yourself and for the other people in your hiking group. If they're struggling with motivation, make sure you share this video with them. Don't forget to subscribe to the Outdoor Adventure Training channel. We have amazing new resources coming your way all the time. As usual, super grateful to have you join us in this super fun, short and sweet workout. We hope to see you back here again for the next workout, or better yet, hopefully out on the trail. If you ever see us out there, and we're out there often, don't hesitate to say hello. Thanks again.